So finally, it's arrived. It's been a while again. I wasn't expecting it until probably November or December time. I was expecting it to be a bit delayed, but no, it's turned up in September, as it said on Sideshow's website. And it's the Facehugger that was never used in Aliens 3. It's the Queen Facehugger, which is probably the main reason as to the size of the thing. You could probably, well, it could probably facehug 2 heads. You know, it's extremely big. But it was a shame that it wasn't used in the film, because it's a lot more interesting as compared to the ones that we use in the first and second film. And they tended to be more anemic looking. You know, it was sort of like a pinky cream spider, whereas this one has got lots of textures and colours going on. Sideshow have made a terrific job of the paintwork on this piece. Okay, so I think the first thing to mention is the paintwork. Really, they've really gone to town on the paintwork. They've made a great job of it. So sometimes Sideshow can be guilty of being a little bit monotone in their paints, not much in the way of shading effects. This, it's just beautiful. It's got lots of mixtures of bronzes and browns, creams. Obviously, as you already know, it's got a translucent like membrane in between the fingers as well. You've got the first 2 fingers at the front, which you've got here, look absolutely savage, look like it's going to stab something as it grabs a hold of it. And then you've got the rest of the fingers, which seem to have little fingernails on there as well. I know a few people have mentioned that it's hovering above the base. Let me just go into that. I think it was probably a difficult decision for Sideshow as to how it was going to be mounted onto this base. And these fingers are so fragile that if you put any weight on these at all, they are going to break. It's common sense, really. So Sideshow have gone the safe and sensible route. They've thought about it and they've decided that it needs to stay slightly above the base. The closest it gets really to the base are these two fingers at the front here, and they're probably only about a centimetre away from the base, so they aren't far off the base. The fingers at the back are further apart, but it's I mean, as you can see, it's not a symmetrical stance. The arms are going up in all different directions, so the back legs, fingers, or arms, whatever, vary between being about 1 inch away from the base to about 2 inches away from the base. And it looks fine. I mean, I saw the pictures on the forums, and I thought it looks a little bit odd. But now I've got the piece in hand, I don't have any issues with it, and I think that Sideshow are right to do it this way, because if you did have these fingers touching the base, chances are it's going to get moved occasionally as well. So you've not only got a risk of breakage, but also it's going to scratch the base, it's going to scratch the fingers. So, you know, it's not an issue. What I've done is correct, in my opinion. Not everybody may agree with that, but in my opinion, I think it's correct. So let's have a closer look. Let me see if I can turn it around a bit for you. So there you can see a good example of the paintwork that they've gone up to. Lots of textures going on that paintwork, lots of strands, stipples. It's just so much detail, and the membrane effect on the fingers, which I'll show you a close-up of a bit later, is a really nice effect as well. The other nice effect on the membrane, in fact, is the fact that they've put the veining effect on the top and on the bottom of the membrane, so it almost gives like a 3-dimensional effect to it. And then you've got, obviously, you can see there the base, which is about as long as my arm, You know, it's just a rock base. There's not much to talk about really on the base. Obviously it plugs into the base by a steel peg in the centre, and that goes into the main sculpt. The only other separate part is the tail, and that the joint on the tail is just there, and that is attached onto the main sculpt by a steel peg that runs inside. And for those of you who want a closer view of the underside, there's the rod, steel rod that goes just into the base, into the main sculpt. And then you've got the underside, the dangerous end, as it were. If I had to mark it down slightly, probably the only small minor issue is that on some of the patterning, most of it is fine, but on the patterning along the edge of some of these legs, you can tell that it really does look like squiggly lines running all down the side. But it's such an amazing piece that it really doesn't take that much away from the piece, and I'm not even going to dock it a mark for that. For me, this is a 10 out of 10 for me from Sideshow. It'd be nice if it was slightly smaller, but yeah, it's just incredible. I know that G36 Gorilla has got the P1 bust and the Wolf bust as well he's got. I think he's about to do a video on that shortly. Mark, if you're listening, pick this up. You are going to love this piece. This is going to be such a great collectible, and it's going to go really well with your Wolf bust and P1 bust. Recommend you might pick one up. So that's just about it. This is probably the last collectible that I was having this year. I'm probably going to do a couple of other videos, maybe on different subjects as well. Not too sure yet. And so probably not going to have anything new now until the new year. So until then, I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Mechanical